Hey, this is Craig. If you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. If you're a business owner and you want to increase your cash flow, or if you're a label or artist and you want to promote new music, then listen up. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We're with a really great guitar player today, super cool guy, a really fun, nice, happy guy, and he's from New York, or he lives in New York. You live in New York now, right?
Brooklyn.
So, of course, that always gets more props with me. We're with the one and only Teddy Kumpel. Teddy's playing out now with Joe Jackson. He is an American New York-based guitar player, singer, writer, producer, and engineer. This reminds me of, like, I'm reading it. You remember Living Color?
Sure.
One job. He's singer, writer, producer, engineer. He's also played with Rickie Lee Jones, Feist. Did I say that right? I'm sorry. Feist or Feast? Feist. 9 Inch Nails as a background singer. Phil Lesh, Marshall Crenshaw, Laura Branigan, Shelley Wright, Teddy Thompson, Charissa, Janice Robinson, Paquito D'Rivera, Toots Hibbert, Toots Thielmans, Frankie Paul, Goody Mob, Tower of Power, Dennis Brown, The Supremes, and India Ari. Man, how cool is that you played with both Toots?
So many Toots, so little time.
So little time, man. He's also worked on many feature film scores, including Temple Grandin. You know what? I love that movie. That was such a good movie.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and I don't know if it got a lot of – well, it was an Emmy winner. Good, because it was really like a pretty intimate or deep movie, you know?
Yeah.
About like her autism gave her this sort of gift with animals. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Anchorman, Confessions of a Dangerous Minds, and Talladega Nights. This is like, I should hook you up with my 2 sons. This is like except for Temple Grandin, this is like the boys, the night. I forget my 2 sons are grown-ass men now. Anyway, he also played on the 2016 Grammy Award-winning children's album Home by Tim Kubart. He's got a long-standing concept band called Lupus Tra. This is so cool. I can't wait to turn you on to this. Innovative use of looping technology and his vast experience mangling vintage and modern sounds. Teddy effortlessly, I'm butchering this, I am so sorry, creates a myriad of textures. All right, I'm not going to read this. Listen to this shit. He does this thing, man, and it sounds like there's 10 people playing. This is by far the most innovative guitar player I've listened to so far this year. His stuff is so cool. It's so different. And I don't mean different like, oh, it's so different, so let's celebrate it and have a fucking holiday. No, I mean, it's really like creatively, because everybody's like, oh, it's different, let's have anyway. That's not what I'm talking about. It's different in a really cool way. I've never heard anything like it's like fun jazz. And for me, those 2 words don't go together usually, but it's fun jazz. It's really funky. It's very blues based, and the lyrics are absolutely hysterical, but they're not hysterical where it makes it like stupid. It's very cool music, man. And I really want everybody to check it out. It's called Loopestra. We'll talk about it in a minute, but some of the musicians who have played with Teddy: Sean Pelton and James Genus from Saturday Night Live, Keith Carlock from Steely Dan, Aaron Comas from the Spin Doctors, Tony Scher and Kenny Wallinson, both great players that play with Bill Frisell. Did you see the Bill Frisell movie?
I did.
It was pretty interesting, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. And a huge cast of New York City players. He's also played on over 50 records as a session player, and he's played all over the world. Teddy, the fact that you're still paying attention, much I mangled this intro, I really appreciate it. All the more so. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
First piece of music that really knocked you off your feet. What was that?
That's so hard to nail down, isn't it? I mean, I started music before I was aware of it, really. My mom was a brilliant classical piano player and a church organist.
That's so cool.
And my dad was sort of a mediocre piano player and mediocre singer, but he loved just kind of butchering Broadway songs at the piano.
That's
when
not.
he get home
So he
from
was
work.
having fun.
Yeah, he was having fun. So, I mean, music was in my life since I was aware of being a person.
That's really cool, man. Was there anything that your mom or dad played that sticks out in your mind that you said, man, I really gravitate towards this?
Well, I think the most important thing is my mom just playing her music all the time. And then also, they only had a few records in the house. They were kind of country bumpkins from South Jersey. And they even though my dad was a mathematician, professor of mathematics, and my mom was fairly sophisticated intellect, they only had a few records, and some of the records they had were like Miles Davis and Gil Evans plus 19.
Oh, wow. Kind of tough to listen to that one at age 12.
Well, how about age 3 or 4?
Yeah, right.
Loved it. I ate it up.
Yeah.
Mahalia Jackson, Tom Lehrer, you know
Oh,
that
wow.
guy?
No, but I know Mahalia Jackson, what a voice she has. Who's Tom Lehrer?
Tom Lehrer is a sort of solo piano player, comedy guy from the early 60s who was breaking all the rules and like singing about all kinds of crazy stuff. You got to check him out. He's really funny.
Was he like that? Who is that guy? Alan Sherman? Was he sort of like that?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he was another guy. He was like in the 60s. He did wacky stuff like that on piano, I think.
He was a brilliant lyricist and a great performer. I don't know his story. I should check out
Is
more
it
about
L-E-H-R? Lair?
Leher.
Thanks.
Or something like that.
Awesome.
He had songs about Catholicism and math, and I guess that's probably why my dad liked him.
Yeah. That's wild. Your dad was a mathematician. Was he was he very academic oriented? Like he wanted you to go to school?
I would say he imagined me being the same as him up until he realized that I wasn't going to be. And then he wanted me to be some kind of scientist.
Oh, wow. You are, man. You're a musical scientist.
That's what I think is I'm a pedal scientist.
Yeah. No, you are, man. What you're doing is definitely inventive and not, what's already laying in Beaker A. I can tell you that much, man.
Yeah. We listened to a lot of George Carlin when I was a kid.
That's funny.
Albums.
So you had pretty progressive parents.
I guess so, yeah.
Come on, man. How many of your buddies grew up listening to George Carlin?
Most of them.
Oh, did they really? Oh, everybody. That's good for you.
I mean, my whole neighborhood was all university parents.
Okay, we tend to be a little more liberal.
I guess.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, my father didn't come from that, but I guess he turned into that from being an academician.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very cool,
He
man.
grew up across from the train tracks and with nothing,
Where would your dad grow up? In Jersey?
In South.
People don't realize this, but they think New Jersey and New York are very similar. Only the parts that are close. South Jersey is very country, extremely rural, and it's really pretty actually place.
Yeah, especially back then. I mean, they grew up near farms, and my grandfather worked on farms.
That's cool.
Relatives did.
Very cool.
Beach Boys' "Endless Summer," Beatles' "Revolver," and the Oliver Twist soundtrack.
You know what? I remember that movie. I loved it.
Yeah. Never before has a boy asked for more.
That's right. I remember that. That's right, man. Go ahead, man. How'd you get started in the music business? Like, what was your first big break?
First big break. I mean,
Joe Jackson, 2015.
Yeah. I feel like a really lucky person my whole life. I've sort of skated by somehow. I don't really know what the answer to that is, but I would say my first touring gig was in 1985 or 6. It started with this band called Rare Silk.
Good name.
Marianne and Gail Gillespie and Todd Buffo were the singers, and they were a Grammy-nominated vocal band that was sort of like if Manhattan Transfer was perverted.
So you've been around wacky humor music like a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, my teens, I just listened to Zappa all the time, and
Yeah.
A lot of weird jazz like Scofield and Dave Liebman. When I was a teenager, my guitar teacher introduced me to all the New York jazz, all the very, very intense, harmonically complex yet very soulful stuff that was going on.
Who'd you take jazz lessons from?
His name is Richard Rabbiton.
Only reason I asked is because, you probably know Jimmy Leahy.
Nope.
Oh, he's a Jersey guy, and his dad was Harry Leahy, and I've talked to loads of guys who took lessons from Jimmy's dad. I was just curious, is it the same guy? He was a very well-known jazz player and more known as a teacher, I think, actually, in Jersey.
I remember Harry Leahy's name, but I grew up in Long Island, so
I okay.
Jersey too much. My parents are both from Jersey.
But you grew up in Long Island?
Yeah.
That's Long Island's another pretty.
Studied with Mark Elf for a minute. He's a pretty well-known jazz guitar player in Long Island. And I did a lot of, sort of school, like IAJE stuff. They would have some free community jazz classes, and all kinds of them. The Heath brothers came and taught us how to swing, and like Dizzy Gillespie came, and
that's amazing. Cool.
Yeah, there's so much stuff going on back then.
So with Rare Silk, what did you guys do? Like, would you get signed, or what was the?
Well, Rare Silk was a band that already existed, and they hired me and 3 of my friends from Miami, where I was going to college.
Okay.
To be their touring band, and we were like young, like 21, 23 kind of age, and they were all, I guess, in their 40s or late 30s or something. So I think we were like the bargain basement good players.
I've hired a ton of guys out of Miami,
and we were playing like jazz clubs in the middle of Ohio, and kind of they would pack the place because they were well known. But then we'd also we opened for Miles at the Jacksonville Jazz Festival in 1986.
Holy crap! It
was intense, man. 100,000 people.
What was that like?
Biggest crowd I ever played for, and that was 23 years ago.
Wow.
That was pretty amazing. Yeah.
That is really cool. Did you get to talk with him at all?
With Miles?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, me and Rick Fiorabracci, the bass player, who was also in the band, we rode in an elevator with Miles, and both of us were like,
oh, you didn't say anything?
We didn't say a word. He was like, he had a very young man with him. According to his biography, he liked young boys.
Mm-hmm.
And he had on like a dragon embroidered cape, and he was,
yeah, a little intimidating to too young.
Very intimidating.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself about that story where Jocko went up to Joe Zawinul and was like, "Hey man, I'm the best bass player in the world. You should hire me." Like while I'm in the elevator with Miles, I'm thinking about that, going, "Oh, I'm never going to do that."
What are the chances? But he might have said yes. He might have said, "I believe you."
Maybe, right?
Your whole life might have.
I would have believed that myself.
This is true, man. That's wild. That's wild. So I'm going to throw out names of some artists you've played with. Talk about how you got the gig with them, please, and a cool or interesting story about working with them. Let's talk with Joe. Start with Joe Jackson.
Joe, I got the gig because my friend Andy Ezrin, a keyboard player who used to play with Joe, I went to college with him, and we've been buddies for 30 years. And he got an email from Joe saying he wanted a guitar player who sings well and is good with effects.
Oh my God.
And Andy forwarded me the email, and I was like, "Oh, that's great! I would love to do that gig. I love Joe."
What a better
like a huge Joe Jackson fan when I was a kid or anything, but I always remember his songs. And
Oh, of course, iconic, man, on the radio all the time.
Part of my 14-year-old, 15-year-old life with Sharp.
Absolutely.
And so I read the email. I'm like, oh wow, that's great. I'd love to do that. I write back to Andy. Yeah, please tell him to call me. And then I look at the email again, and it's Joe didn't BCC anybody. So there's like 30 email addresses and names.
Oh my God.
That he wrote that question to. So I'm looking through them, and I know like 10 of them because they're just New York musicians who are around. And I wrote to those people and just said, hey, I'd love to do this gig. I think Joe's the best, and it'd be really fun. And could you recommend me for it? So within about a week, I get an email from Joe. I also wrote to Joe, and I get an email from Joe, and he says, well, like 10 of my friends have recommended you for this gig.
That's pretty.
I guess I have to audition you.
Dude, that's great marketing.
I guess, yeah.
That's great.
I definitely took advantage of his BCCing.
Well, you know what other people have to say about you is so much more important than what you have to say about yourself.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. It's funny. My wife, I just talked to my wife about this yesterday because she is from England. So she's on some Facebook groups where they, people from England, they talk about the shit that they buy here locally that's from England, right? Like, I don't know, I guess, it's like home food. Anyway, so she said, and she's a realtor. She goes, I can't stand this. Anytime someone asks for a realtor, like 20 people come on and say, oh, I could help you. I said, what you got to do is get a few of those people in there as clients and then have them say, oh, Ann Garber is really good. That's exactly what you did, man. That's really clever.
Right.
That's really.
I didn't think of it as clever at the time. I just.
That's brilliant, man.
And just did it. So he sent me 5 songs from his new album to learn, and told me he was going out of the country for a few months. I was like, oh, great. I have tons of time to learn this stuff. So I learned it very, very well and went to his house a few months later and
went to whose house?
Joe's house.
Okay.
Joe Jackson.
He live in the city?
In Soho.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And went to his house and I brought my whole entire pedalboard rig.
He was probably thrilled to see.
Well, I think knowing Joe for a long time now, I think he's kind of mystified by guitar stuff. He looks at it and kind of goes, I don't know what all that is, but if it sounds good, it is good, right?
Yeah.
Often he walks past my pedalboard in soundcheck and goes, man, you have so much stuff there. It sounds good.
No, but man, he couldn't have found a better candidate. Someone who's got a good voice and great with effects. But how did he know if he's not into effects? It's interesting that he wanted someone that was good with effects.
I think he wanted a small band and he wanted a guitar player who could imitate a lot of other things.
Okay.
Who could fit in, because he's got a lot of orchestral arrangements and all kinds of parts that are not guitar in his later music after all the first 3 band records, right? So I think that was his thing, is to fill up those slots, some violin parts. And anyway, so I went up to his top floor, dragging all the shit up the stairs. Summertime.
Oh my God, there was no elevator.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Unpack it all, set up, and we start playing. And he kept telling me, oh, I have to backtrack a little bit. In the email, it said, somebody who's also understands my kind of relationship between guitar and piano, where the guitar is a supportive thing to the piano. So knowing that going in, when we're playing the songs together, I held back. I played really behind him and tried to, do what he wants.
Yeah, support him.
He kept telling me, can you turn up? I can't hear you. Can you turn? I would turn up a little tiny bit, being mindful of that and not trying to like over impress him with that. In fact, it's just how I heard the mix is to be kind of in the background. So after a while, he was like, I can't hear anything you're playing. Can you just turn up? And I said, okay, I'm going to turn up for the audition, but I want you to know that I'm aware of what you want in the band, and I'm capable of playing behind the piano and supporting what you're doing. So that's why I'm playing that way. He goes, oh, okay. So he got it.
That's cool.
And
but if you're him, you got to be thinking, wow, this guy is really, number one, the fact that you're aware and paying attention. I mean, let's face it, how many people are aware? The awareness level is pretty fucking low.
Right.
Seriously, you know,
A lot
that
of,
you,
a lot of egos in the world there. Check me out kind
well,
of
just
stuff.
that people aren't genuinely are just not even paying attention to shit they read. Even if it's not like ego, it's just like, you know, nobody pays attention to things.
Right.
But the fact that you paid attention, that is like, I bet that, I mean, to me, that would be really like impressive, like someone's awake, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think he's a man of few words. So everything he says is pretty important.
Yeah.
So we played a lot. We played the songs. He liked what I did. He liked my singing. And after a while, he goes, "So what's all this then?" Points at the pedals. And I said, "Oh, this is, just my effects that I use all the time." And he goes, "What does it do?" And I go, "Okay, I'll give you the quick tour." And I gave him like 20 sounds, like rapid fire. Here's some string sounds. Here's orchestra. Here's clarinet. Here's violin. Here's
Awesome.
this. Here's that. Not synth stuff. I don't really do that too well. I don't have any guitar synths set up on my guitars, but I use effects to get these kind of tones, sort of in the vein of what I've learned from Adrian Bluish kind of things, how he would do it. Um, and he was like, "Oh, okay." I could see his wheels turning. Like, I could use that for this and that for this, and he definitely liked it.
Very
Then we
cool, man.
jazz and hung out, and we spent about 3 hours together. And a couple days later, he called me up and goes, "Well, I think you're the right guy for the gig."
That's fantastic, man. And that was 2015.
That was 2015.
Congratulations. That's great, man. Great story. That's really nice, man. I like to hear those kinds of stories. You know, yeah.
He also said, "Thank you for not making me audition anyone else." I was like, "Oh, well, you should have, but okay."
Yeah, that's great, man.
You're
That's really cool. Wow. I mean, that says a lot that you blew him away. He was so confident that he didn't bring any, because even still, if you're like one of the early guys, you know, you're going to bring
yeah,
in more people just because he was really sold on you. Dude,
right.
that's great. Any funny or interesting Joe Jackson stories from being on the road?
Man, it's been 4 years. There's so many.
How many nights does he tour a year?
The first tour I did with him, the Fast Forward tour for that record, Fast Forward, we did a fall US, a winter Europe, and a summer US. And then the next year we did a summer US, and then next year we did a summer US and recorded the new record Fool. So not that much, pretty not intense. But this year, because this is the 40th anniversary of his first record, we're hitting it hard. We've been on the road since February 3rd, and right now we're on a little 2.5 week break. But tomorrow we go back to Europe for uh, 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. So
So
you're
we've been pretty steady this year
full
from
in.
February 3rd to the end of July.
That's great, man. Good. That's great to hear. Awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Everybody on the crew and in the band is amazing.
And you get to play with your buddy, Andy Esmond.
No, Andy's not in the band.
Oh, what happened? I thought he was in the band. I thought he was the guy.
He was in the band in 2001, 2000, something
Oh,
like that.
okay. So they just had a relationship and he asked them.
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool. Holy shit. Isn't it? I love hearing these stories because it's so, the serendipity is like, you couldn't plan this out. Like, you know,
Exactly.
how do you, like this guy wasn't even in the band. I just assumed he was in the band. So he hasn't, wow. What is the likelihood?
Yeah, everything. The stars definitely aligned for me in that moment.
Yeah. That's great, man. Very cool.
But it's
Yeah.
proof that when you have intention and you want to do something fun, and like before that, I was doing a bunch of things, and I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be great if I had a gig that was like, more high level than these. And I enjoyed the gig I was doing, of course, but I kept thinking that.
No, you're a super talented guy. I totally understand that.
So there was a few years there where nothing was really as high level as Joe.
Let
I
me
don't
ask
want
you.
I don't want to put down anything I was doing, because I was doing a lot of great things locally, and touring with some cool people.
It's all important, but
Yeah,
if everybody has dreams and aspirations, man, and
yeah,
you're looking to take on a little more. I
yeah.
totally get that. What did you, anytime during that period, what did you tell yourself to keep going when things got a little stale?
I wouldn't say that those times were stale, because I've had a pretty good run for probably about 15 years. You know, right around that financial crisis time of 2008, things got a little weird.
Right.
What do you tell
I don't know
yourself?
if anybody got escaped from that. Like
Uh,
anybody.
yeah. What do you tell yourself? Just don't give up.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you have to do. Just become the guy who says yes to every gig.
Hmm.
Yeah. Be thankful for people ringing your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Right?
interesting. I've talked to so many people that were playing at like a higher level, and the two periods that are pretty common is one is the guys that were playing in the 70s. I think Steve Hunter from Alice Cooper's band said
Hmm?
it was like January 1st, 1980 came, and my phone literally stopped ringing. It was
Wow.
all the hair metal that was the rage. And then I have a lot of the guys in the metal bands I've interviewed, and they said it was really weird. Like January 1st, 1990, the phone stopped ringing because Nirvana, grunge came in.
Well, really, Beavis and Butthead, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's these two. I mean, it happens to almost every musician at some point. I mean, and look at Steve Hunter's a great guy. He was on top of the world with Alice
Yeah.
Cooper and Lou Reed. I mean, this is like one of the most visible quote rock stars,
Yeah.
and he's a lovely guy.
Made it go.
And he had no drug issues,
Yeah.
nothing. So I mean, it's just it's tough at times when that happens.
Sometimes the tide turns in your favor, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, man.
You know, I think being in New York, you get good at being kind of a one-stop shop for things. Like
Yeah.
just by necessity, I've become a good engineer and a good mixer and producer and songwriter. And anything anybody calls me up to say, "Hey, I need this. Do you do that?" I go, "Yeah." You know, not if I have absolutely no
Of
experience doing it.
course. No, but you
By,
gotta hustle, man.
by now, I'm 54, so I know, like, okay, yeah, I don't like doing that thing.
Right. Yeah. I know. And it's funny when you when I turned 50, I got really like I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. Not in an arrogant way, but like you only got X amount of time left, man. I want to
Right.
be smiling during that, or as much as possible anyway, during that
That's
time.
right.
I don't want to be an indentured servant or anything like that. Well, because I've done shit like that. It's miserable.
Sure. I played about 750 weddings in the 90s. Some of the bands were amazing, and I have
Right.
really close friends that I've known from that time through those bands that I will always be friends with. And I loved playing those gigs. It was one guy, Peter Yellen, who was such a great, just everything was fun about it. There was nothing about it that was a drag, even though it was a wedding. You just laughed. But then there was other bands I was in that was like, huh, it's like that sometimes. Okay, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
I stopped them in 1997 and just hard cut off.
Do you know Pete McCann?
I know Pete McCann. He's great.
Yeah. I had this conversation with him, and he did the same thing not too long ago. I think actually he said
Good.
I wasn't doing these wedding gigs anymore. I stopped, and then he said in the beginning it was a little dicey, but because there was a chunk of income. He goes, and now things are filling in to pick up for it. But he goes, I just couldn't take it. I wasn't happy.
I think that's what happens is when you decide the path that you're going to go on, and you don't spread yourself as thin, then the other stuff fills in. Like my studio stuff filled in as soon as I stopped doing club dates.
That's great, man.
Studio and writing.
Question for you. I've interviewed a ton of guys that went to University of Miami. Who did you go to graduate with that people might know?
Graduate?
Or okay, who did you get? Sorry, so you left.
In the 70s, they used to say if you graduated Berkeley, you failed Berkeley, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything about. Is that what they used to say? If you graduated, because you're supposed to get out and play.
You're supposed to get a touring gig by the time you're a sophomore.
Is that was the same thing? But there's a ton of great players at University of Miami.
Yes, yeah. I was there from '83, and then I took a break to go tour with Rare Silk, and then I went back in '87.
Oh, you did go back?
Yeah.
What made you go back?
They called me up and said they'd give me a full scholarship.
Wow, that's unusual, isn't it?
And I still had some things I wanted to take there. I wanted to take the composition and arranging classes that I hadn't taken when I was there before that.
That's interesting.
Basically, what happened with me in college was I went the first year and followed the program how you're supposed to follow, the studio music and jazz program, and all the music classes were incredible. Just every single one, I learned a shitload, and learned a shitload from the students and all the amazing teachers and ensembles. But the academic stuff that I had to do there, I guess because of University of Miami in the 80s, how it was outside the program, it was a little bit like, 13th grade for rich Long Island kids. No offense.
Yeah.
But I found myself really just unhappy in the English classes and the history class, and just getting really dark and not feeling like I was doing the right thing by being there. So I took a semester off and came back to New York, studied with Steve Kahn, the jazz guitarist, and Dean Brown.
Dean Brown, I've had him on the show. He's at MI. Isn't he teach at MI now, right?
I don't know.
Dean Brown out in California.
Dean Brown, he used to be in Long Beach, Long Island, yeah.
I didn't know that. Maybe he must have told me. I don't remember. He
plays with Billy Cobham.
Right. He teaches, he's a teacher out there, and if it's not at Musicians Institute, it's someplace else, but he teaches full time.
He's world famous, amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody. He taught me a lot of good stuff.
That's cool.
And I went to community college and kind of felt out how that was, and decided after a semester of that I'd go back to Miami in the winter semester. This is like 85, and just take music classes and kind of just not even sign up for the elective, the academic classes, right? So I just filled my schedule with music classes, and then I worked 6 nights a week. I'd play these top 40 gigs, 6 nights a week, 6 sets a night.
Holy crap. So you were getting some serious tuition there, man.
Just stamina.
Wow.
Stamina building.
So that was such great proving ground for it's great education. Yeah.
Great players in the top 40 bands I was in, and we played like Prince, Madonna, like all the stuff of the mid 80s, and a lot of it was very funk oriented, and it really solidified my time feel and made me learn all these things off records, Thomas Dolby songs, and like really. So I think it was the 80s is an underrated time for music. Everybody kind of poops on it.
Well, because it was very pop oriented.
Yeah, they were all discovering digital reverb and
very processed.
That are kind of dated sounding now, but I learned a lot from learning those records. There's one guitar player in particular who influenced me a lot from Go West and Scritti Politti.
Oh yeah.
Like Alan Murphy.
I don't know him, but I know the band Go West.
He died late 80s of AIDS, but he sounded like Pop Holdsworth. Really
That's cool.
Incredible phrasing and beautiful sound, and he really influenced me a lot.
Was John DeFaria at school then?
He was a little bit before me, but yeah, the whole Miami Sound Machine crew was like
right. That's funny, man.
He was the guitar player in the top big band when I first got there.
I'm trying to think who else I interviewed that went there. This guy, I can't think of his. He goes by Nomad. Michael, do you know him? What the hell is his name? He's at California, but he goes by Nomad. He's from New York.
Oh.
God, I'm having a brain fart. I think Andy Timmons went there.
Andy Timmons was my roommate.
Oh, at University of Miami?
Yes.
That's so funny.
We used to wake up and practice weird things together. And yeah.
That's really funny.
We were in together in guitar ensemble, and
loads of great musicians went there, man.
Yeah.
Really good musicians. How did you get hooked up with, what were you doing with Tower of Power as a background singer? I'm sorry, that was 9 Inch Nails. How'd you get hooked up with Tower of Power? I want to talk about 9 Inch Nails after that.
Tower of Power, like I'll tell you this, anything I've ever done that's good is from somebody I knew from University of Miami.
Really?
Joe Jackson, Andy Ezrin, he went to University of Miami. Tower Power, I got an audition with them from Steve Grove, who went to UM. And I went out to LA. I had just moved to New York, fall 1988. Just gotten an apartment with my girlfriend. Kind of just settling into New York. and I went out to LA to audition for them, and they hired me for the gig. I practiced with them for about 2 weeks, and while I was there was a giant earthquake, and I got massive food poisoning.
Oh.
Like in the same 3 weeks, I guess it was, something like that. And there was some things about the band that I didn't enjoy. I'm going to be honest. Without going into details, they made me really uncomfortable.
Good for you so you left.
So I left, but before I left, I told them about my friend John Scarpula, who's from Long Island, an amazing saxophone player, and Tommy Bose, and they both played in this band Funk Philharmonic that I had a relationship with, sat in with them a lot, or sub for the guitar player. And they got the gig, and they had the gig with Tower Power for like 20 years.
That's so cool. That was nice.
So I think I went out there to audition for Tower Power and got the gig and left, only to get John Scarpula and Tommy Bose in the band.
Right. It's funny how that works, right?
They were a great match for that band. Amazing match. Perfect.
Give you credit though, as a young guy, to walk away from that. That took
that was a really hard decision, because it was like, okay, well, these guys are an iconic funk band, and I love funk, and I love their music, and I would love to do this. It just didn't feel right. There's things going on, conversations being had that were too weird for me.
I'd give you a lot of credit for walking away. That was. Let me ask you this, and this is something I have had to work on for me. I have not done that. I've always been the other idiot. I've been like, well, this thing is ridiculously tough. I'm going to do it. And now I'm not like that now, or I'm conscious of it and really, avoiding that and being aware of it. But I wasn't when I was younger. What made you, like, it seems like you were very comfortable in that decision. Just, I'm not going to do that.
No, it wasn't comfortable at all. It was.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
It was a really hard decision because of my love for that music. And I think between the earthquake, not being especially enamored with LA, food poisoning, and then at the end of the day, the band wasn't a good fit for me. I think all those came together for me and just said, you know what? I think I'm going to tough it out in New York and like learn how to be myself.
Yeah, good.
Like back then, I don't think it's like that anymore. LA is totally different now than it was in the 80s. But back then, it seemed like, from my perspective, it seemed like LA was where you go to get a gig, and New York's where you go to learn how to play and be yourself.
Right.
That was in the like that now. Now it's much more global. Yeah,
I think it's a little different now. That's good. Good for you, man. That's a good decision. But it's not like, you couldn't exactly say the universe is really supporting this between all the shit that went on, but to actually act on it the thing is, at a young age, that's where I give you credit.
Was that 23?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's really a ballsy, to your ballsy in a good way.
I had a lot of balls back then.
Yeah, that was good.
I have a lot more balls back then than I do now.
Good for you. Well, that was a good decision.
Way,
Talk about Nine Inch Nails. How'd you get a job? I got to tell you, it was funny when when you hear someone sing and you don't know them in that, like I met you in the context of as a musician, but we talked on the phone. I hadn't heard your music. It's really interesting when you hear someone who has a good voice, because it's a different perspective that you look at them under. I can't explain it as a layperson. It's let me see if I can communicate this. You have a really good voice, and I'm not thinking about that when I first talk to you. I'm just thinking, oh, I can't, it's a weird, it's almost like if you met somebody that you didn't know played an instrument, and all of a sudden you find, oh, they play guitar. Holy shit, they're really good.
Right.
I don't know why the singing is different. It's because it's a very emotional. That's where you're, guitar is, but the vocals reach out, man. That's like, especially with your lyrics. So it was really, it's always interesting when I, because most of the people I interview are not singers. You know, they do a little bit of background vocals, but you have a good voice. So it was different.
Thank you. I'm going to work on thinking that myself.
Hey man, it's always that way. You know, you'd always fix other people's problems easier than your own, right?
I guess I have a lot of experience doing it. I grew up singing with my family and always was in choir. I was in all-state choir when I was in high school, and my my choir teacher from high school actually recently reminded me of this incredibly funny story. He said when I was in, well, first of all, when I was in 10th grade, I auditioned for all-state jazz band and got in and did it. And then the next year when you had the auditions, I didn't get into all-state jazz band. So I auditioned for all-state choir, but that was an afterthought. And the choir teacher reminded me that I did it like by the seat of my pants. I learned the song that day.
Good for you.
Thing in the audition, and I went in there and did it so well that I got 100 and got an all-state choir, which is, to me, is just like, what, really? I did that? Okay,
awesome.
But I wasn't like, it didn't stay in my bag of wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you have a really good voice. It's always interesting to hear someone who sings really well when you hadn't heard them in that context before.
Nine Inch Nails was a gig, you know. I mean, actually, I think Andy Ezrin recommended me for that again. We have a friend named Keisha Bostic, who was a vocal contractor back then. This is in 1999. The gig was MTV Music Awards 99.99 at the Metropolitan Opera House.
That's a pretty cool gig.
And Trent wanted to do one song on the MTV Music Awards, and he hardly ever did live TV. So he was stressed out about it and wanted it to be really good. And this one song that he wanted to do had tons and tons of background vocals. So he figured, oh, let's try having 4 guy background singers. So we rehearsed for 6 days for the one song. And this included like lights, movements, recording our background vocals like 10 times into Logic to play along with what was going on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, man. He's amazing. Like, I learned so much from just sitting there and being a fly on the wall.
And one song, that's amazing.
We weren't doing much as a background singer. We just sing the chorus and go take a break. But every time we took a break, I'd be in there going like, what's he doing now? Oh, he's talking about the lights. Wow. He's like really has his paws in every single aspect of what's going to happen, and he has a real vision for what it is. And to me, that's what makes an artist an artist.
Yeah, I was thinking
Joe's like that too. He's got very specific ideas for the staging and the lights and how we're set up on stage, what we're wearing, every single aspect.
Do you guys all wear suits?
No, me and Joe wear a suit. I have to wear a tie because he's not. So I'm wearing.
I'll trade. You ever do that, Joe? I'll trade. You wear the tie this weekend.
No.
Come on, Joe. Just one weekend.
Yeah, nobody's allowed to wear. We have every nightly before shows. We have to have a color conversation with the band. Joe always wears the same color suit, and I have a lot of different colors to wear, and the other 2 guys have a few different ones, and we always have to have. So, what are you wearing? Purple? All right, I'm not wearing purple.
Oh, so you have to color coordinate. That's cool, man.
We have to make sure nobody's wearing the same thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, man, he's an entertainer. I totally get that. You know,
he's incredible.
That's part of his. Is he American or English?
British.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Graham, the bass player, is British too. They grew up close to each other.
Did they? That's funny, man.
Yeah. And I think they met. I think Graham must have been in his early 20s, and Joe was like 19, something like that.
So they've been playing together for all these years?
Since 1974.
Wow, that is almost unheard of.
Yeah. Pretty incredible.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Well, you know, it always depends on your position. You can always turn around and say, Graham, say, you've had one gig. What do you know? Right? But that is amazing, man. You never hear that.
Holy. So much respect for those guys. And
in the music business, that's like,
I know.
That's not like 74, so that's like what 45. That's like 500,000 years or something. You know, it's like a lot. It's not just 40 years.
In music, dog years.
Yeah, right. It's like times squared or something like that. You know, you never hear of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were in a band together where Joe wasn't the singer, but he wrote some songs, and the band got a record deal and kind of flopped. And then Joe had been writing these kind of pop songs that ended up being the first album. And he called Graham up and he said, "Hey man, I've been writing these songs and I think I need a lead bass player. I don't want any guitar solos. I just want like really like present bass and rhythm guitar and drums." And that's what it ended up being. I'm sure Graham was like, "Lead bass? Yeah, sure."
That's truly amazing to be that together for that long, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for those guys, man.
Amazing.
The Supremes.
Yeah, that one. I gotta say, I didn't enjoy that too much either. That was
Really?
Diana Ross wasn't there. It was only
You can't hurry love, though, Teddy.
You can't. You can try sometime, but you might find.
Yeah. What happened here, man? What was the story with this?
So that one, John Scorpula, the guy who I got the Tower Power gig for, hired me to. He was the MD for Mary Wilson and the Supremes. Diana wasn't there, and the other who I don't know who that is, wasn't doing it. And it was okay. It was fine musically. Like it was a job, you know.
This is in the city, or was it L.A.?
It was tour stuff.
Okay.
I think it was mostly fly dates, from what I can remember. I've tried to block most of it out. But I said to John when I took the gig, I was like, man, okay, yeah, I'll do the gig. The only requirement I have, I don't even care. Just pay me the same as the other guys. Everything, you know, on this, you know, musically, I'll do whatever you want. The only thing I need is my own hotel room. If you can't do that, I don't want to do the gig.
Oh, they were making people share hotel rooms.
First gig, I didn't have my own hotel room.
Oh my God! You weren't in with one of the Supremes, though, were you?
No. Only one Supreme was there anyway.
Imagine that. Like,
your own room, but you have to room.
Teddy, this is Mary Wilson. I'm taking the left side of the bed. Just telling you right now.
Yep.
None of this shotgun shit.
You have to spoon Diana Ross. Sorry.
Oh my God.
So after the first thing with them, I think it was probably a month that I was with them, and then after the first thing, I told John I couldn't do it, and it created problems, I guess. But
did they not know that you're not going to be? Is it in a gig like that? You would think you'd have your own hotel room, no?
I don't assume anything. I just, you know, say that up front, because if that's not the case, I don't want to be there.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Yeah. But you think on a gig of that sort of stature, or you know, whatever, they've been around the block.
I think because Diana wasn't there, and there's a big band. You know, there's horns and background singing.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they were pulling in all that much money that they could afford that, really.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's too bad, man.
Don't hire me.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Don't hire the guy who's going to be bummed that he doesn't have his own hotel room when you.
Yeah, not when you're doubling up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was me and the trombone player and his trombone in the bed. It was crazy. Phil Lesh, man, that was. What did you do with Phil? You had well, you know what I meant to ask you? Do you smoke? Because I saw you had a cigarette in one of your pictures, and you smoke and sing that well?
I stopped smoking when I was 40, in 2005.
Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah. I smoked from 28. I smoked for 12 years, 28 to 40.
That's not bad.
But when I started, I told myself I was going to stop when I was 40.
And you honored your commitment.
And I.
Well, I mean, what was it? Was it that? No. What prompted you to stop? That's good that you stopped.
I was in therapy and trying to stop a lot of things.
That's the shit, man. Make the fucking changes all at once, man. Get them over with.
Therapy was good for me.
Yeah, therapy is good for me too.
Yeah, I just did it cold turkey.
Good for you, man. Yeah, I smoked from like 22 it was really weird. I remember I was scared. Like both my parents smoked heavy, and I was scared for them to find out I was smoking cigarettes. And when they found out, they're like, "Hey, man, let's buy you your first few cartons." I mean, how dysfunctional is that? It's like, "Hey, man, you're part of the crew." I was like, in retro,
It's nice of them to be so supportive.
so supportive. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess this is all right. And I quit, I think around 30 or something like that. No, actually, I didn't smoke too long. I quit, and then I went back to smoking when I got my divorce, and then I quit shortly afterwards. Yeah, smoking is like awful for you, man.
I always thought smoking was like an illness that somebody had when I was a kid. My dad smoked. And I would always say to him, "Dad, why are you smoking and mowing the lawn at the same time? This doesn't make any sense." Like,
how do you smoke and mow the lawn? Yeah, that's.
And he would go like this. He'd throw the cigarette down on the ground and go, "I'm not smoking."
You know Richard Lloyd.
Craig.
Do you know who Richard Lloyd is from television? The guitar player, New York guy. He's coming on my show soon. So he wrote a book, and it's a big autobiography, and he's talking in there about, I never understood he had a kind of a nutty household. My parents, and they all smoked, drank, and take pills. I never got it. And then 20 pages later, he's talking about how his heroin addiction. I was like, what happened? But he left. I want to ask him, you left that part out. Like you didn't, how did you, I mean, he talked about how he got into it with his buddies and normal stuff, but I guess it reminded me that when he said, like, I hated my parents' smoke. I'm not smoking. That's good. Phil Lesh. Sorry.
Phil Lesh, my buddy Jason Crosby, piano player, violin player, singer, songwriter, amazing guy. Plays with Phil Lesh in his family band. And I was doing like a little kind of Northern California tour of my own music I was playing solo, actually doing mostly house concerts.
Wow.
And I got Jason hooked me up to play at Terrapin Crossroads, Phil's club, opening for Phil.
That's crazy, man.
Then he helped me put together a band, which basically ended up being Phil's band.
Holy smokes.
I had Jay, the drummer, and Jason on keyboards, and it was super fun to play there. And then Phil played right after me and asked me to jam with him, and it was just,
oh my God.
I have a whole new appreciation of him after having played with him, like, because I'm not really a Deadhead.
It's not really because being a Deadhead's a lifestyle. It's not really a musical passion. Like you don't like the Dead like you like, I don't know, Joe Jackson or
It seems like the older rootsy crowd, they kind of go for it and see what sticks, right? Like like Dylan and the Dead and all those kind of people. So I liked a lot of the Dead stuff, but I didn't like all of it, and I didn't really love the whole culture around it.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Oh yeah, well, turns out Phil is a master improviser. He's on the bass is just incredible. Playing with him was so effortless.
That's so cool.
And his whole band was amazing, but he really stood out to me as like, wow, he's so unique and just follows so well. And I mean, he's been jamming for 60.
Well, I was going to say the amount of neck time those guys have had.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they were one of the most prolific, not just studio, but I mean, they've toured forever.
Yeah.
Without such short periods here and there, they're always touring. And this, like you said, 60 years. I mean, imagine if, Hendrix hadn't died, what a kind of guitar player he would have been. If he he's always playing.
Who knows?
Yeah. That's wild.
I too. I don't know. Never know.
I mean, it's just, that's really cool. That's really cool. I've met other people that have played with him and they've all had nothing but really good things to say.
Just unbelievable.
Very cool, man. Let's talk about Loopestra. So you have, so let me tell people the name of the record and pull up my iTunes. It's called Loopestra Volume One, L-O-O-P, like Loop, E-S-T-R-A. And this isn't anything remotely like Ed Sheeran, so don't worry about it. That's what he does, like loops. So doesn't he do loops?
He does live looping.
Yeah, this is not like that. This is really
the difference between me and Ed Sheeran is that I play with a band. And the difference between me and most loopers is that I play with a band. I don't see a lot of bands improvising with loops.
Yeah.
Live. Like you'll either hear singer-songwriters who have a plan,
right,
and have a bunch of loops that they know they're going to make and sing over them, like Ed or Keller Williams. Keller Williams is looser than Ed. He's got some more stuff going on.
Keller Williams is a real estate company. So every time I hear it's huge. It's a huge it's like one of the largest real estate brokerages in America.
I wonder if he owns that.
I don't know, but
I wonder if you get a free looper with every house.
Or a free house with every looper. That would be even better. Every time I hear his name, Keller Williams, I'm like, why would you call your kid Keller unless you're Keller Williams, the first or something?
Right, maybe.
It's really weird.
Family is
the Keller Williams family. I don't know. Sorry about that, Teddy.
That's okay.
Thank God we are not drinking alcohol. This thing would
Thank God I'm not drinking alcohol.
I said, thank God we are not drinking alcohol. This thing would be totally like it fall apart here. I mean, this would be.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a drinker, but I've heard people drinking on podcasts, and it works out pretty well.
I can't, man. I can't. Off the air, yeah, but I would never.
My friend Sean Pelton did the I'd Hit That podcast, and they were doing shots of tequila the whole time.
Were they?
Yes.
Well, it's like Joe Rogan. I've not watched Joe's show.
He's drinking all the time?
No, he's smoking weed, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. And I would never, a million years, I couldn't smoke weed and have a conversation with somebody.
I guess it's like Sonny Stitt doing heroin and practicing it. And how can you play on heroin, Sonny? Well, I practice that way. Right?
Right. Yeah. I got to change my attitude, I guess. Right.
When I used to smoke weed, I smoked it all the time. Everything was weed.
Yeah, I can't really function.
So, you just get used to it, I guess.
I've interviewed a lot of guys that are stoned or smoking while we're.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean.
And they're lucid.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you do it all the time like that, it's I don't know.
You need practice.
Yeah, that's what you said, man. You got to practice. So let me talk to people about Lupus Tra. Lupus Tra, you call it Volume 1. Is there a Volume 2 coming out, or?
There should be soon.
All right.
We're working on it. Man,
so it's really good. It's like I said, it's
Volume 1, WON.
Volume 1. No, man, this is great stuff, man.
I wouldn't have had to put out a Volume 2 if I did that.
Let's be serious. This is really good. It's literally the most. I'm going to read from my notes. It's the most interesting new music I've listened to this year. It's a very tangible treatment of jazz, blues, and funk, but the song lyrics are funny. And as I said, I'm really not a jazz guy. That's kind of my weakness. I'm when I talk to jazz musicians, like when Pete McCann, I said, Pete, let me tell you up front, I don't know much about jazz. I'm sorry. It's not my thing. Because I don't want to I don't want him to say something or anybody that I should obviously know, and I clearly don't, so if I disclose up front, I'm an idiot about something. That's but the thing is, he's also got a lot of humor in the lyrics, and it pairs with the music. So the whole thing is really put together well to tell a story. So I want to have some questions about it. I guess, how did you come up with this style of music, or is all your records like that? This is the only one I got a chance to listen to. Is all your music like this, or is this something specific as far as not the looping stuff, but the just the style of music you play? It's really unique and really cool.
I think I like a lot of different things, and like any kind of eclectic artist, I just take all those things and kind of put them all together, and somehow, that combined with I have a voice on guitar and I sing a certain way, and gravitate towards certain grooves and certain melodies. I think it just all comes together like that. It's not really a conscious decision so much as I like this and I like that, and let's put them in the soup bowl and mix them all together and see what happens.
Yeah, but usually a lot of times. Sorry, Ted, go ahead. Let me cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say the humor thing to me is important. Like, I really love humorous music. I grew up with Tom Lehrer and Frank Zappa and Adrian Belew and things that are funny and have music put to them. And I actually used to jam along to George Carlin. Like he'd be doing a comedy thing, and I'd try to like catch his phrases and
Wow,
feel
that's really
feel,
smart, actually.
feel his rhythm. Like, you know, Steve Vai did that thing on that Zappa record, Man from Utopia,
Hmm.
with Dane and Jazz Discharge Party Hats, where he plays along with Frank.
Yeah,
That was very inspiring to me. So after I heard that, I was like, oh, maybe I can do that with George Carlin.
it's really smart.
Spend time like trying to copy his phrasing, which you learn things from that. You know, people who
Yeah.
have speaking, it's musical. Anyway, the thing that I don't enjoy about some humorous music is that it lacks emotion. So my idea is to have talk about real things in a funny or joyful way.
Man, you did a great job. I mean, the song "Keep Pretending," it's the opening song, and here's the lyrics. Literally, like I if someone said to me, "Put a song to this," I'd be like, "What?" My therapist said, "You're pretty much out to get me," and he does this in a total, like, it's a song like, you know, any, like a Bon Jovi song. It's lyrics and it's a great melody and it fits together and the music matches it. Um,
I love Bon Jovi. That's a good comparison.
I mean, you know, seriously,
Great.
it's like very funny and unusual, and the song, the whole song, it's like you're bitching about your girlfriend's, like you're in a therapy session, kind of. You're bitching about your girlfriend's emotional hangups, like you're talking to her, is almost what it's like, in very specific detail about how fucked up she is.
But I'm also hiding it. I'm trying to protect her from the therapist who's saying that she's out to get me. Right?
Oh, okay. So what's the backstory on this one, to the extent you're willing to share? God knows what.
Well, I think it's pretty much all there in the song.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
not much about that relationship I want to revisit.
How long did that last,
But
man?
I got a good song out of it.
How long did that last? The
It really
relationship? Yeah.
very long.
Yeah, man. Good that you bolted.
Had to run away from that one. That was
Good for you, man.
better left unsolved, really.
Yeah, man. Good for
Run
you.
away, run away.
And you have a song there called "My Own Kind." That's my favorite song on the record. It's great, funky blues. The guitars sound great. Really cool fills. Great solo. And it sounds like you're playing. I could be wrong, of course. A 335. Where are you? Where are
That
you playing?
record, I'm playing a 1978 Japanese-made Greco hollow body. It's like the size of a 339, but completely hollow.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty good. My guess wasn't really far off conceptually.
And it has Fralin big single gold foil pickups in it. And I think that solo, probably most of the solos on any record that I play on, has some kind of germanium fuzz thing that's not too obnoxious sounding, combined with just a sort of semi-cranked amp, not too much.
What amp are you playing to? Do you know?
On that record, Supro, Trema Verbs. Yeah.
Really good. This is really good. Like I said, this is the most unique in a good way and different and good music I've heard this year so far, man.
Well,
So whatever you're doing, I'd like to hear volume 2.
That setup that I used for that record and for that band live is a 3-amp setup. So I have splitters. Basically, I go into my pedal board that makes the sounds,
Right.
and coming out of that, I go into an AB switch. The AB switch switches between the lead amplifier that's in the middle and the looping setup. And the looping setup is in stereo and has a switcher after it, so the loops can go on the right or left live.
Wow, this is work, man. You put a lot of effort into getting the sounds that you want in here, man. This is a lot of work.
So when I play live in a small room, I can put an amp really, really on one side and an amp really far on the other side, and an amp in the middle, and it gives this dimension to the band.
That's really cool, man.
I kind of want like 3 guitar players, like sort of tri-mono, I guess would be the word for it.
Have you played this record?
Yeah, I did 10 years of gigs like that at Rockwood Music Hall
That's cool, man.
every Monday.
Is that so? Was that you played before Campolongo? Maybe
Campolongo plays in. Well,
I thought he plays
he did
Mondays.
his gig at Living Room for a long time, and then he moved to Rockwood, and I was playing at midnight, and Jim would play at 10.
Okay.
So Jim would play. Yeah, it was like, guitar player night at Rockwood.
Yeah,
for a good 5 years there.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What I know you like all genres.
I played at midnight because it took so long to set that shit up. If I played at 10, I'd take like 20 minutes to set up, and then by that time I could only play for half an hour.
Is there a genre of music you identify with most? Just curious.
I could tell you genres I don't identify with. I mean, I like a lot of, not really a label kind of guy. Like I enjoy most music as long as it's something to offer. So for some reason, I don't really get into opera. I guess I can't understand some of them I do. I can't really say that, I guess. There's a couple I don't. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, right. What is that? Madame Butterfly? What is that?
I don't know. I would be talking out my ass if I tried to get this.
It's funny that you say that. This, like many years ago, some friend of my wife's, it was what's a Phantom of the Opera was playing, and it was like really hard to get tickets. And my wife knew some woman; she got us like 4th row tickets. And we get there, and we're like halfway through, and I'm like, babe, I'm not really into this. Are you liking it? She goes, no, I can't stand it. I'm like, let's get out of here. I was so relieved, and I didn't want to say anything normally because her friend got the tickets, and I was very, and I thought she was having a good time. It was really funny. Yeah, that was not our bag either.
It's like museums.
Yeah,
I like a good museum. I do. I'll go to a museum and enjoy it. I can't. Sometimes, like, I'll go and I'm there for like over an hour, and I'm like, okay, that's plenty.
Yeah, right.
I can also tell you, one time I went to see Michael Brecker play. Michael Brecker, the saxophone player.
Yeah, Brecker Brothers. Yeah.
And I just, I was a huge fan of him and his brother and everything that they did and all those records they played on, and went like looking forward to it and hoping to hear something really cool. And there was so much stuff going on in the music. It was so intense, so much information that it just like hurt me to be there for more than a half hour.
Wow.
I couldn't take it. Like, it was so intense. It wasn't that I didn't like music or that I had to leave because I hated the music or something. It was just too much. Like, one song was plenty.
Interesting. Yeah. Top 3 experiences you've had musically.
Oh boy. I might have to think about that one for a minute. Top 3 experiences.
Go with your knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. Singing backgrounds with Rickie Lee Jones on We Belong Together. Like, because when that record came out, it was one of my favorites, Pirates. And I would sing along to that song all the time. Like, I'd be a thirdster. Like,
it's so cool.
We belong together. And then doing it with her live on stage was just like a dream come true.
That's nice. Did you get to do that in the city?
In New York?
Yeah.
I don't think we played in New York together. I did about a month with her, and kind of toured around the United States a little bit.
That's nice, man.
But yeah, that's
definitely. You're like a fanboy on that gig a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. It was kind of mind blowing, that whole thing. When she called me to do the gig, I said, "So what songs are we gonna play, Rickie?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. Do you know my music?" I said, "Oh yeah, I know your music." Okay, well, I don't know. We'll figure it out later. I'm like, okay. So I got the bass player to give me a song list. Are we gonna rehearse it all? No.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So you had sound check was your rehearsal?
So we go to the first gig, and there's no sound check because we got there late.
Nice.
And there's 15,000 people at a festival in Ithaca, New York.
Holy crap.
And I never played one note with her and had like a bunch of things written down on papers that were blowing around in the wind.
Yeah.
Just like,
holy smokes.
That would go into the opposite category of, you know, some of the worst feeling. She covered all the bases.
That's great, man. That's nice. Number 2, what was second?
I mean, just playing with Tower Power is kind of a similar thing. Grouping with them, playing with Rocco, similar, yeah. But also playing with Joe, he sometimes the whole band kind of lifts up the room together, and it feels like everybody in the room is levitating. It's pretty remarkable how that can feel.
That's
especially
cool.
Playing to a bigger, like we played the Masonic Theater, I think it's called, in San Francisco, which is like 3,500 people, kind of like the Beacon in New York.
Yeah.
And that gig, like, it's just so big, and the whole room just kind of like vibrated. You know?
That's cool, man.
Great feeling.
So you have a tight band there.
Oh yeah.
That's nice, man. Any besides a relationship in Keep Pretending, what were the some of the lower points in life that you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
I mean, just life things or music things?
Whatever you want, man. Your call.
Whatever pops in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many horrible things. Where do I start?
This is always, I could see like is always like the inner debate that like a lot of my guests have, like,
which one do you talk about first?
Right. Do I no, or the other thing is, do I want to say this in public?
Yeah.
It's really true. Let me see. And like they're thinking for comfort, which I totally get, you know?
Yeah. No, I don't have a problem spilling all my guts. All right, I'll just start with the family thing that I grew up with was horrendous. It was really, really, really difficult.
Really?
Sister was born with something where her guts weren't attached to the correct output.
Oh my God.
So they had to reconstruct that for her. And this happened when I was 2. And the way my family dealt with it shaped me completely. Like, my mother was bipolar, and
holy shit, you're making me feel grateful about my family down here, Teddy. Holy shit. Slow down, man. I don't get this feeling very often. So go ahead. I'm going to soak it up while I can get it.
My father decided to not participate in helping with her surgeries that she had to get, and decided to become somebody who really enjoyed alcohol too much.
Wow, man.
So he kind of checked out. This is when I was 2, and my mom took care of everything, but she was bipolar and freaking out. And basically what happened was they didn't let the doctors finish their job with my sister because they were freaking out so much. So my sister grew up not having control of her bodily functions her whole life, which for me, I guess, because she had so many problems and my parents were so focused on her and really on themselves because they had their own going on. Everybody's problems trumped mine. It was basically
I get that. Yeah.
So the good part about that is that I was left to my own devices, and I had to make myself up. I had to invent who I am, because I really didn't have too much influence from them. I remember thinking when I was probably 8 or 9, like, wow, my family is really fucked up. Like, I got to get out of here as soon as I can.
Let me ask you a question. How did you think that at so young? Because I never articulated that till I was much older.
It was just so extreme. And I realized, and I spent my whole teenage years out of the house. All my friends reminded me later in life, like, you were never home. You were always at my house or at his house, or you never
Thank
wanted.
goodness.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And their homes were no better than mine. Just they weren't mine.
Yeah, but it wasn't, you weren't mired in that shit there that you didn't create, but you had a, you know, it's like it wasn't, you weren't the cause of anything, but you were the brunt of it, which is like not really good when you're a young kid.
So
Whatever.
music was always a good healer too, and a
Yeah.
refuge for me. So
Wow.
my father decided when I was about 11 or 12 that I could live in the basement, like all away from everybody else.
Oh my God.
And I just was down there with my guitar all the time,
Holy
practicing
shit.
and listening to music and immersing myself, you know.
Whatever happened with your sister?
My whole entire nuclear family is not with us anymore.
Oh my God.
My sister passed away from MS, complications from MS in December. This past December.
Wow. Sorry, man.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. He was a great person, such a sweetheart.
Yeah, it's really sad that she had again through nothing of her own devices.
Yes, she was dealt a bad hand. She made a lot of people happy with her attitude, and she was very inspiring to me and a lot of her friends and family. Yeah, it was pretty tough.
I really have such little respect for parents that don't function as parents, man. I really do. Like, not that I'm the ideal parent, but I always took my responsibility. Like, I always knew, and my kids were difficult, but I always knew they didn't, you know, I brought them into the world. So I always knew, okay, whatever their shit that they're making my life, I signed up for this. This is me. I volunteered. So I always was really cognizant about being there for them, you know, and you never know if that's working until they're older. Like I said, my son's 20, my older son's 29 now, and they both come to me all the time, and they're really, you know, hey Dad, thanks very much. I appreciate everything you've done. And it just, it makes me feel good because you don't get that feedback. How the hell do you know?
Right.
You know? And so I feel good about that because I certainly didn't have that in my parents, the same as you didn't. Wow.
Cognizant, key word there.
What's that?
Cognizant is the key word there.
Right. I was always cognizant of that. And
when you're on autopilot from your own issues,
yeah,
not going to work out.
Yeah, never.
You stay aware.
And it's interesting.
You're off family for all that stuff, but then I think right around when I was late 30s or something, I decided, like, you know what? The only thing I can do is give them love. The only thing that's left, right?
Well, the only thing you can do for yourself too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because all that anger is not making you a better person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. So I had a little similar in that I was very independent at a young age. So I would imagine you're pretty responsible as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's the upside of having shitty parents, and you're forced to sort of like do your own thing. You're like, okay, you do your own thing. And then, like, you know, like, it boggles my mind today where I'll see guys, because I'm a year older than you, and like I'll see guys our age getting divorced, like, oh, I don't know how to do laundry. I'm like, are you fucking serious, man? Are you fucking serious, man? I was doing laundry when I was like 9, you know, and maybe that was too young, but give me a break, man. Come on. You can't do laundry. Going to Publix is like a big accomplishment for you to get the groceries.
Can't figure it out, at least, really.
I mean, seriously, you know, and it just, you know, but I think that's because of, you know, we had that thing where, like, I was doing laundry at 9, and, you know, I had no choice. Who's going to do it for me? You know, I was like on my own. So
I guess they're not touring musicians, right? Because you have to do your laundry.
No, they're not touring musicians. Good one. Wow,
we
man.
always have laundry parties with Joe's band. We'll Google Maps, find the nearest laundromat.
Oh, is that what you guys do? Yeah, that's so funny, man. Wow, man, that's an intense story. I'm just processing that for a minute. And thank you for, like, sharing that. Honestly, you made me feel good about my background. That never happens. Nobody makes me, Nobody makes me feel good about my shitty background. I'm like, oh, this is like, oh, it's not that bad.
You know, I mean, there's a lot good about my background. My father had a good, solid job, and
Yeah.
there was usually enough money, and we had health insurance. We went to nice schools with good
Right.
people and good teachers, and lots of musical opportunities, and in a nice white bread town,
That's good.
very low crime, and there's not much to
Wow.
complain about except that other stuff.
Well, I know that when you said that shapes you, because there's still, at least for me, residual stuff that doesn't change my behavior. But the only reason it doesn't change my behavior is because I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
Why the fuck should I have to be aware of this? It's like, it's always a dichotomy. It's like, if you're not aware of it, it wins.
Right. Exactly. If you try to block it out, it's going to come get you.
Right. So, and if you're aware of it, you're like, why the fuck does this shit have to be in my head? It's, at least for me anyway. So it's always like, I think it through, talk about it, understand of it, try to be really aware of any vestiges of remnants of shit that's up in my head from my childhood. But it's like, then, like I said, then there's times like, man, why is this shit still in my head 50 years later or 45 years later or whatever, But it is, and it's not like I put it there. It's just there. It's just like, my skin is a certain color, or it's part of who I am, But it's a part that I'm not, that part that I've overcome, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it sounds, maybe you've had some of the similar things.
Yeah.
We should do joint therapy, man. Hey, listen.
You come on at the end of the show when you start asking these questions. And help usher the guest into that territory.
Hold on, I'll bring my co-therapist in for the second half of the show, Mr. Teddy Kumpel.
You feel, Craig?
Oh my God! Well, thank you, man, for sharing that, and I'm really glad that, man, that you had the strength to get through that. Because I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of helping hands along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, my guitar teacher, Richard Rabbiton, that I had from 7th grade to 12th grade, without him, I don't know how I would have survived that shit.
That's good.
He didn't, I think he knew what was going on with me, but he didn't really talk to me about it. He just provided me a safe place.
Oh, so you used to stay there once in a while?
Well, I just go to lessons with him once a week, and he always was very wise and kind of had that nobody else had.
Well, he probably also gave you some empathy.
Sure.
Some adult male empathy that you fucking sorely needed.
Yeah.
Of like, kindness, which goes a long way when you need it and stuff.
He's an incredibly kind man. And
that's good, man.
A great guitar player.
Very cool. So let me ask you this. If what advice would you have given yourself at any period of time that you would have liked to hear?
Get the hell out of there.
Right. No, that's valid, man.
But that would have been me at like 7. Just run away. Go live with your grandparents. No, that wouldn't have been a good idea. That was probably worse. The only piece of advice I can think to give my teenage self is this is an interesting story. So when I was 13, I decided, after reading Tommy Tedesco's book For Guitar Players Only, I decided I was going to be a studio guitar player when I was 13.
That's so cool.
Hardcore, like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
That's really good.
That's a 13, right? Kind of crazy, like, for a 13-year-old to be thinking that, but I think it's...
No, but there are people like that have that vision.
Yeah. So I called a meeting with my parents, and I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a studio guitar player, and I just want you to know. Prepare you. My dad said, he ran out of the room and said, I'm not supporting the arts, which is weird because
he's always supported you in your playing.
He wanted me to be a scientist.
Oh, right.
He wanted me to be like him. And my mom was like, that's so great, honey. You can do anything you want. Are you sure you can do that? She was very conflicted.
Classic.
You need to have a plan, which, that's a smart thing to have a backup plan.
Sure. And you get, yeah.
But they were both very they both disappointed me in their reactions. If I could tell myself when I was 13, don't tell them that.
Yeah, right.
Keep that to yourself. That's your shit.
Yeah, right. That's funny, man.
In fact, I saw a Bob Dylan interview on 60 Minutes like 5 years ago, and he said that. He said, don't tell anyone your dreams.
Yeah, but who knows what's coming out of that guy's mouth, man?
Yeah, but it spoke to me. It was like, don't tell anyone your dreams. Yeah, don't. Fuck that. That's your shit.
Yeah, but I think telling people your dreams sometimes validates them. I think sometimes it puts you like, you put it out there, you know?
Right.
I wish I would have been much more forthcoming with things when I was younger. Yeah, because I think you put it out there and it sort of, you know, then you can try to manifest it.
Well, we could have been friends when we were teenagers and learned a lot from each other.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would have been a nightmare. We would have both like, you know, what drugs do you want to take today to handle this? I mean, that would have been my story, man. It was like, you know, this will probably numb the pain, you know, no thanks. Yeah, that would have been, I had no guidance at all. I was totally unaware. Yeah, none, zero. I mean, the thing, I was just aware of survival. You know, I like every day was like, it was like growing up in a war zone. I'm like, what are the troops doing today? Are we under safe fire, or are we like right in the thick of it? Are we getting ambushed? So it was like, you know, they always say that kids who grow up abused have a sixth sense. Malcolm Gladwell, and I think it was Blink, that book, he talks about it, did studies on it. And the reason is because when you turn the key to the door, you have like a fucking millisecond to see, okay, what am I walking into right now? Can I go to my room and just close the door? Do I have to deal with this guy? Do I have to do these chores? Or is this guy pissed off today? And you got like a split second to make that decision. And I think, you know, the good thing that came out of that is I do have a good feel for people, and I can understand, you know, and try to be empathetic but I just to feel people's energy, sort of to understand where they're coming from. Like people always say, well, how long are these interviews? I'm like, man, they'll be as long as you need them to be. Don't worry. Like, if someone's getting like stale, I'm like, okay, let's hurry it up. You know, I don't want to, this isn't fucking slavery, man. If you're ready, you're done. Great. But yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't have been, I was not a good friend to myself. That was the biggest problem. I was very uncomfortable. Yeah. So I was not capable of anything, man.
So there's physical abuse?
Oh God. Yeah. Nothing but, yeah.
Wow. I mean, not to compare.
Hey, my abuse was fucking much worse.
To me, like, from my perspective, because my dad, when you have a fight with my dad, it was like playing handball without a wall. And nothing would come back. It was,
it was like passive aggressive.
Totally passive aggressive. Totally verbal abuse. Like, he used to tell me, you're imagining things. Like, I'm not fucking imagining things. What are you talking about?
Man. So he wasn't in reality.
He would just leave. Yeah, he didn't want to deal with reality. He was just drunk.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't know which is worse, being hit and having something to know that it's real and that you're fighting against, or aware of. That, you can't say which is worse, right?
Well, I don't know. My dad was a gambler too, so he had that thing going. And it was funny. He'd like bring us to the racetrack, and I was like a little kid, and I'd be like, this place is fucking disgusting. I can't believe you've taken your wife and your kids here. Like I'd be thinking that to myself. I couldn't say it to him because it was like, you know, it was like, you know, if me and you went to see like front row David Gilmour, that's how he felt. I'm not kidding, you know. So I couldn't tell him that because I'd like get my ass kicked right there. But I'd like, I was like, felt like I needed a shower going there. Or sometimes he'd bring me to off-track betting. Do you remember that? OTB?
Yeah. I've seen the inside of those. That's really super creepy. In the Bronx too, right?
Yes, right. And I'd be like, man, I'm gross. I was like 8, and I was like, get me the fuck out of here, man. This place is disgusting. I'd rather ride home on the D train at 2 a.m. and watch some guy piss all over the floor who's drunk than stand here right now because he's not next to me. This is gross.
And at least you could change cars.
Right, exactly. I can get off the fucking subway, you know. But yeah, it was weird, man. It was totally weird. And thank God I have no gambling, no addictions, nothing. I've never had any, you know, very lucky with that, because I know I've talked with loads of people who've had addictions, and I've had other good friends and family members who've had addictions, and I'm grateful I never had any of that shit, because that's like another monkey I didn't need on my back, you know. So I'm really, in a weird way, thankful for that I never had. You know, I try to focus on but like, at least this didn't happen to me, you know. At least I didn't have any addiction like that. So wow, we'll have to
watch it happen to other people. You can stave it off, right?
Yeah, I just, you know what, I hated that whole environment. So I think anything there, I just like was just totally put off by. It was just at such a young age, I just didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to do. Like, I knew what I didn't want to do, but I didn't have any frame of reference of what was good, right, you know, positive, encouraging, stuff like that.
Right.
So that was, you know, that was sort of my demons. But I just was so put off by everything there. I said, nothing here. And I was at a young age looking forward to leaving. I just didn't have any place to go for, you know, until I left. But yeah, so we'll have to have a drink when I'm in the city, man, and compare dysfunctions. You know, I always say people are attracted to each other because they have similar dysfunctions.
Could be. I don't know.
I think so, man.
Crazy girls smell that stuff and they want to.
What's that? I've been fortunate. Like I said, I was married for a cup of coffee, not a little while, but I've been with Ann 25 years. So we've been together 26 years. So that I've been very, very lucky. I always say, in fact, I always look at it that the universe sort of like brought my wife into my life and said, hey, we're going to level the playing field for you now, man. We know you've had it rough. I don't know why I came up with this thought process, but I did once. And I genuinely believe it. And they said, hey, you know, we're going to give this gift to you. Don't fuck it up. And I haven't, because I appreciate it. You know, we get along well, and not to say we don't argue, who doesn't argue, but, you know, 26 years, I had no complaints, man. I hope we do another 26 at least. So anyway, how do I talk about guitar now, man? It's very weird. So,
well, it's all part of it.
Yeah. Thank you, man. This is really good. I got a lot out of this.
Oh, good. Yeah, me too.
Thank you, man. All right, let's talk about guitars. This is like the worst segue in the history of Everyone Loves Guitar episodes.
You can put in reversed sounds or something.
I need a Loopestra. Right now, goddamn. Guitar-wise, man, I see you got some. Is that a Harmony right behind you?
This one?
Yeah.
That's a Fujigen. FGN.
Okay. Tell me, what's your number one, and what's the top three guitars?
That's a nice 335 right there.
It's beautiful, man. But it's a proper. What kind of vibrato is on that? Usually they have a Bigsby on them.
That's a walnut, 1971 walnut 335 with a Duesenberg Bigsby.
That is beautiful, man. That is such a pretty guitar. You know, it's funny. They had one of those in replay, not too long ago. Yeah. Okay. They have some nice guitars there, considering that's a local store here in Tampa, don't they?
Hey, that's a great store.
Yeah.
Place. With Joe, I use John Page classic Ashburn humbucker guitars.
Never heard of
two humbucker. I don't have them because they're in Europe already.
Oh wow! In storage?
No, they're probably even at the venue already.
Oh wow!
Place where we're going to be.
Dude, that's cool. So what is it called?
John Page Classic. John Page was the head of Fender Custom Shop for many years.
Okay.
He broke out and made his own company called John Page. He hand makes guitars, and he has a company called John Page Classic where they mass produce guitars in Japan. But they're not really mass produced. They're like very, very, very nice Japanese that are designed by
the Strats.
It's sort of a Strat, but it has two humbuckers.
Where do you buy these? I've never even heard of that.
Replay has them.
Really? John Page Classic.
Yeah. John Page Classic. I think they got like 5 of them down there.
I've never even heard of those guitars. I can't believe this.
Yeah, they're cool.
So they're like
much more solid and well put together and easier to play for me.
They're like Strats and Tellys with humbuckers, or just?
It's like a Strat with humbuckers, the one I have.
Really? Yeah,
it's very Strat-like, but the body shape is slightly more offset, so it's a little bit more Jaguar-ish.
Hmm.
Thing.
That's cool, man. I'm gonna check those out.
Yeah, and I'm a big semi-hollow fan. I didn't use it with Joe, but that's my favorite kind of guitar, is like a 335, or I have a 339. And as you can see over here, I got 1, 2, 3, 335-ish guitars over there.
The 339, that's just like a smaller 335, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Guitars. I've been playing some Supro guitars lately. I have a Reverend Air Sonic that's really cool. I have massive gear acquisition syndrome
Do you really? Pedals?
for the new Harmony guitars. Have you seen those?
Yeah, you know what? I did. I have seen that. I'll tell you a funny story about that after the show. Yeah. I love the Silvertones, actually. The old ones.
Yeah.
I'm looking for one of those to buy.
There's 2 of them in a shop right near here.
In a shop up there. I like, what I like about them, the pickups, the sound, that sound is.
Yes. Lipstick Coil.
Yeah. What are they? Diarmid, they're called? Diarmid.
Well, they either had like gold foils or they had lipstick pickups.
Right. I like the gold foils. They were Diarmid is what the name of the brand was. Diarmid gold foils is what I think they were called. I love those guitars, man. Really love the sound of that. But it's hard. It's weird. You either find them for $400, but they're so beat to shit, or they're like $2,000 and they're restored. Oh, there you go.
Look at this thing.
So that's a Harmony. That's in great condition.
That's a Teisco.
Oh, wow. That's in like mint.
Yeah.
Did you buy that new?
A friend of mine gave this to me from Brazil. He brought this from Brazil to the United States. Just
to give it to you. Must be a good friend. What a nice thing to him to do. How does that sound?
That sounds great. The pickups in it are just silly sounding. Silly in a good way.
What does it sound like?
They're gold foil, kind of very, very bright, but sweet sounding.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really nice guitar, man. What year is that? Just curious.
No idea. I've had it for about 20 years.
Yeah, because they have them once in a while on Craigslist, and I never look at those because I'm looking for the Harmony Silvertone. But maybe I should be more open and look at one of those if it's older, if it's from the 80s at least or something.
Yeah, I think this was probably the 70s or 60s.
That's in great. I can't believe how clean that is. That literally looks like and that fretboard looks brand new.
I know. I think it was never played.
Wow, it's one of those stories where it was under the guy's bedroom or bed or something. That's beautiful.
The tremolo bar, the guitarfetish.com one.
Yeah.
Same as the old one.
That's really cool, man. Do you do work on your own guitars? Like electronics?
Mostly I do. I bring it to people when I can't figure it out, or for fret jobs and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, electronics I do.
That's great.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good, like, kind of man cave.
Yeah, it's an outlet. Yeah, it's a cool thing. Especially if you're a guitar player, man.
And if you want to experiment with some new pickups, who wants to bring it to somebody and leave it there for 5 days?
Right. And it just adds up, especially if you're a professional, man. You got tons of shit you're wanting to swap out. It makes sense to learn how to do that. You could save $2, $3, $4, $5 a year probably.
You got to learn how to do your own setups and change pickups and stuff like that.
I felt like $1 million. I put those EMGs in that Les Paul, and I'm not, that's totally not my thing at all, zero. And I couldn't believe how easy it was. There's no soldering or anything.
Those are EMGs. Oh, they're like the solderless ones?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and they're called Fat 55s. I mean, they're literally vintage PAFs. They sound amazing. Wow. I couldn't believe how good they sound, but I couldn't believe I was able to do it. It's just, I'm not that guy.
My guitar in the 80s was a
Les Paul.
It was a Japanese Squire.
Very cool.
Pickups in, and I loved it. It's just a great guitar.
Who was telling me recently they played a Squire, and they wound up getting Fender wound up making them a custom Squire for a while. It was somebody that's like you wouldn't expect to play a Squire. It was like
the new Squires, like the classic vibe ones. They're really great.
I like the way they look. I haven't played when they're really good looking. I know that.
So a friend of mine had a Telly, and it was just like unbelievably good.
Oh, you know what? I think it was I had Joan Armatrading on here recently.
Wow.
Yeah, she was really nice, man. Maybe it might have been her, but she played a Fender. I don't know if it was a Squire, but she was really nice, really funny. Like you know, we had the British thing going because I know British humor from my wife, so it was just like she was really funny. I'm looking forward to her interview coming out. She was a very sweet woman.
Oh, your wife is British?
Yeah, she's from the UK. I know, man. I got everything here, man.
What part is she from?
She's from a little town 30 miles northwest of London called Dunstable. It's like a village, you know. It's like, you know, tiny little place. And then I'm from. Wow, what is that?
That's a Chinese moon lute. It's called a Xiao Ren.
So you can play that?
My wife's from Taiwan.
Really? That is wild.
Has really deep frets.
Yeah, I don't know how you even playing that. Why are the frets so deep?
I guess that's how you play it. I don't know. I've never seen anybody play it. Or
you didn't go on YouTube?
I don't even know how you're supposed to tune it, but it sounds to me like if you record it with a good mic, it kind of sounds like Larry Carlton through a Princeton. You can kind of go like.
I was shocked. I was going to ask you. You seem like you're playing like a pentatonic scale there. That's not normal tuning. So you just tuned it to like EADG or something? People in China are seeing this bent over, getting ready to vomit right now at this point. Like, what this guy's destroyed, like, you know, 30 centuries of beautiful history of music. God.
Playing blues on a shower Ren.
Yeah.
Sorry, China.
What's the best guitar and the best amp you've ever owned or played?
I'm not that particular, but
really?
But I guess the 335. I have this beautiful 335 that's cost me a lot of money, and I love it. It sounds amazing. But I also have a $100 guitar that I bought from guitarfetish.com, and I had it fixed up. Cost me maybe tops $400 total. It came with no hardware. I put all my own hardware on it. It's kind of just as good as the 335.
Oh my God, really? You know, you see these tests online of, we're going to compare a $6,500 Fender Custom to this $80 used Squire.
Yeah, I mean, if your hands work,
yeah,
the guitar's going to sound good.
Well, it's funny.
What do you feel like? What does it feel like when you're playing it? What kind of mojo gets transferred from the wood and the vibrations that hit your stomach, right? All that stuff.
Yeah, that's why I don't like buying guitars online.
Right, yeah.
Because it's
easily buy a dud.
Well, I think it's like a woman, man. It has to feel, sorry to anybody who's gay and resents me saying it's a woman, but it's like a woman. You have to have a certain feel with the relationship, you know, with the guitars you do with a person, you know. It's got to give you a certain vibe, and it feels right or it doesn't.
Right.
You know, so.
Makes sense.
Huh?
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me anyway. You ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back?
Yes.
That was quick.
But I definitely wouldn't want to get it. Well, I want to get it back, but I won't get it back. And well, it was a 1952 J45.
Oh wow, what happened?
But I went guitar shopping at Mandolin Brothers with Eric Schenkman from the Spin Doctors, and he picked it up and went, "Kumps, you got to check this out." And I played it within like 5 minutes. I was like, "Take my money!" Oh my God, it was amazing. Of course, there's probably like 500 guitars in that place that sounded just as good as that.
Right.
One spoke to me, and I bought it. And around 2008, and I needed money, and that guitar, it was beautiful sounding and amazing. But every year I had to spend $300-400 getting it repaired from just maintaining it because it was so old, and the bracing would fall off and things would happen to it. And it was kind of a dog in that way.
Yeah.
It sounded amazing. I've never found another guitar that sounded as good as it that I could afford.
Who'd you sell it to? Look, let's out him right now. Hey man, if you got Teddy's Martin J45,
he's a friend of a friend, or he's actually family of a friend.
Man, he might be listening. Listen, if you have Teddy Kumpel's 1952 Martin J45.
Gibson.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was I thought it was Martin. Gibson J45.
Sell it back to me for $5.
Sell it back to him for what he paid for it, at least. That would be fair. Yeah, man. You never know. Contact Teddy Kumpel at his website, teddyjams.com.
Yeah.
Imagine it. Then you know what? If that happens, we can make a video, and maybe I could do this. We could have now a video, like an actual, like a guitar reunions, like people who've been separated from their guitars for a number of years. And you get to see the expressions on their face when they get reacquainted with their guitar. No one's going to watch that but guitar players. Like,
they're so excited.
Yeah. God.
Yeah. There was another one that I got in like 84 that somebody from the community college I went to said, hey, I have this guitar and my father had it. It's like in the basement and it's got paint all over it. But can you come over here into my house and tell me how much it's worth? I went to their house and it was a Gibson ES 125 from the 50s.
Oh man, those are great.
No cutaway, one pickup.
Uh-huh.
And it was covered with paint chips and no bridge, and it was in kind of bad shape. And I was like, man, I'm not a guitar expert. I don't know what that's worth, but it is a Gibson, so it's got to be worth something. I'll give you $100 for it.
That was really cool of you to be that honest.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to bullshit them there. I knew them, so I gave her $100 for it and had it fixed up, and it turned into a really nice guitar. And then later, I traded it for a Fender Pro Reverb, which is my friend David. But I could get reunited with that guitar.
You could be like the first 2 episodes of my new show. I have to get a name for it, like separated. No, not separated at birth. Like I don't know. Yeah. This is we're so far afield of reality here in this episode. Desert Island Discs, top 3.
Oh man, Jeff Beck Wired.
Oh, great.
Queen Jazz.
Interesting.
John Scofield Electric Outlet.
That's 3 different records.
Weather Report, Heavy Weather. Doesn't even have guitar on it.
I've had a couple of guys like that as their number 1
album. The Shags album. Gotta have the Shags album. You know the Shags?
No.
The 3 teenage girls from Vermont whose fathers thought they were good and made them go to a studio in the 60s.
No. Was it any good?
They recorded it, and it's the most unbelievable music you'll ever hear in your life. As soon as you put it on, you will start laughing.
Oh, it's just like so far-fetched.
Just go to whatever.
Yeah.
Your streaming of choice and type in My Pal Foot.
Of course.
This is the song that if I'm ever sad or down or anything's going wrong, I put that song on and immediately I'm happy.
Okay. My Pal Foot.
It's so ridiculous.
I want all my listeners to right now at the same time.
The Shags, 2 G's, SHAGGS.
My Pal Foot. Favorite New York City food, man?
I don't want to be another guy who says this.
You have to say it.
I've heard other guys on your podcast say, Rich Hinman said Xian Famous.
Oh yeah, the Chinese place.
That's pretty good.
I have to go there.
My wife accuses me of going there too much.
Oh yeah, does she like it there?
I don't think she likes it. It's too spicy for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does she like Chinese food here at all? Is it anything remotely like Chinese food in China?
If you find the right place. I mean, New York has every kind of Chinese food, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Cantonese food is very, very, very different from Taiwanese food and other places of China. Like Hunan food is very tiny little slices and really, really spicy, and it's all different. So if you find a Taiwanese restaurant that does it right, then she'll be happy.
Do you know this place downtown? It's like at a weird address. It's like the address is like 24.5 Bayard Street. It's something Noodle Town.
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
And it's like, like an old, a lot of the newer restaurants in Chinatown they're really geared for tourists, you could tell. But this is an old school one. Like you walk in there, it's got all the dead chickens hanging on the front. They don't speak English, and if you're lucky, they'll be benevolent and they may give you a hint in English. But I went there with my two sons, it's about 10 years ago, and we had a meal. My sons were like, I don't eat that much, but both my kids were like in their late teens, and they ate like a family of four each. And they finished all this food, and like we went to pay the bill. It was like, I don't know, $16 or something. They were like, Dad. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, man, that's because you go to places, you can eat, economically in New York if you know where to go.
Sure.
If I went to the place 3 blocks over, it would have been $70, So I love Chinatown.
I'm not a Cantonese food guy. I don't really like that.
You like Taiwanese food?
I like that Xian place. Xian is a city in China that's really in West China, so it's
What's it called again? I gotta make sure I write this on my list.
It's Xian, X-I-N.
A couple of people have said that, actually. It was Rich.
Rich and somebody else. I forgot who the other guy was.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I'll tell you exactly who it was. Johnny Lamb, I think.
Okay.
I think it was Johnny. And he's Chinese. Or no, he's Korean maybe, or Vietnamese.
Oh, but he likes Xian.
I'm almost positive.
That's unique.
Yeah. Do you know Johnny? He lives in Brooklyn.
Don't know him.
Yeah, he's a slide guitar player.
Oh, good.
Man, this is a good question for you. Most important things you've learned about yourself through career experience and life in general.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Now I know all your dysfunctional shit. I know the better questions to ask you, like in a good way, not like in a bad way, like not to bait you, man, just like, to make you think.
What was the question again?
I don't know. It's most important things you've learned about yourself.
I can easily get stressed out or anxious about things if I don't give myself enough time. Like if I'm going to go somewhere, like if I have a session at 7, I'm going to make sure and aim for 6:15
to be there.
Yeah, because then I can just completely relax to myself and not be all stressed out and freaked out. And,
so you don't like 11th hour shit?
No. Yeah, well, okay. I can deal with it if it's something fun.
Yeah, right.
But if for work, I don't want to be late or feel like I'm going to be late, or I want to be prepared.
Yeah, I get that, man. I think that's part of being a professional, to be honest with you.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not been prepared for things as much as I wanted to, even as much as recently in the last couple of years, and it really trips me up. It really. Sometimes I take for granted my ability to go with the flow in a situation, or sometimes I think I'm able to go with the flow better than I can.
So I'll cut back in here. So I just went to the restroom and Teddy asked me if I was going to edit this part out, but do you know what happened with that? There's a story about that. I had a early on, first 100 episodes sometime, maybe shortly after that, I got a 1-star rating on iTunes, and I looked at it and I was like, I mean, I'm not thinking I'm never going to get 1 star, but I want to know what the person liked about it. And they said, I can't believe this guy. He interviews Corey Wong. He's a really good funk guitar player out of Milwaukee. He interviews, you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. He interviews Corey Wong, tells Corey, I've got to go pee, and then doesn't edit that out. So when
Perfect.
so I was like really happy he said that, because I went in and edited it out. I was like, it's going to happen, man. You're just doing all this stuff like, and I was like, I'm pretty forgiving with myself for making mistakes. I'm like, I can't do everything perfect. This is not possible. Yeah. And so that's why I thought you were joking about that. I thought you knew about that.
Well, I was laughing because the last podcast I did, Secret Famous Paul Madison, he's a New York guitar player who has a podcast, and he had to go to the bathroom in the middle of our thing, and I think I did something weird when he was in the bathroom. Like I sang a weird song about him or something.
And he didn't edit it out.
and he didn't take it out yet.
Oh yeah, no, I always edit out. I write down, bathroom spots and stuff. But it was that one time. I guess I didn't. Like I said, you can't do everything. It's not possible. And I'm pretty good about forgiving myself for mistakes. I'm like, come on, I've done 500 of these. It's statistically impossible,
right,
to have everything run smoothly. I mean, I'm aware of it. It's just numbers,
Exactly.
All right, another tough question, but a good one. What do you like? What do you like most about yourself?
What do I like about most of myself? Ninja skills. I don't know. I think I'm pretty unique as a person, and I appreciate all my idiosyncrasies and the iconoclastic tendencies, and attribute those to my messed up childhood.
Yeah, but be specific. Like, what you
most?
used a bunch of SAT words, and I appreciate them all. But my iconoclastic tendencies and my uniqueness. I'm like, okay, but what's the answer?
Yeah, what is the answer? What do I like most about myself? Why do I have to have a thing I like the most?
Or what do you like about yourself? Jesus, Teddy.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. You know what you're doing? You know what you're doing?
What?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
You're like avoiding the question.
No, I'm trying to figure out what I like. I've never really thought about that. I don't know what I like about myself. I guess
you gotta like some stuff because you're a happy guy.
I'm a loving person.
That's great.
I don't let myself get dragged into too many difficult situations.
Good for you, man. Are you good about not? Are you a pleaser, or are you good about like not taking care of yourself?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I think I grew up being a caretaker.
Right.
3 people in my family who are all messed up.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
But I had to learn how to be assertive later, and I do pretty well with it. There's certain times people cross my boundaries, and I just have to just go, no, you know what? It's not even worth talking about with these people. Like, you've crossed a boundary, and it's time for you to fuck off. Really.
Right. Yeah. You know what I find myself? I used to be really I'm very direct, but I used to be really confrontational. But what I find now is I just delete. I'll ghost some. I don't want to have an argument because I can't talk logic to illogical people. I'm not going to get stressed out because you're an idiot.
You got to know your audience.
Yeah, but I'll vanish. You'll never.
Actually, in my 20s, I was much more blunt than I am now. People used to call me Teddy Blunt.
That's funny. Well, yeah, I think when you grow up and you don't have anybody to look at, how to filter your I didn't know how to speak to people. I was like, I didn't know how to.
You make it up. You go along and you feel out the borders of the situation.
Yeah, maybe this is not a good idea. I need to not be such an asshole.
Good to have good friends who are willing to give you real feedback.
Yeah, totally.
Like names.
Like who?
Like people who are willing to call you names.
Oh, it's you're not to get feedback. That's the downside of social media because anything goes. Nobody says anything. It's like, the shit I used to see kids say to my daughter when she was really young. Even I was like, God, this is out of control. If these kids were in person, they wouldn't even have the courage to look her in the eye.
Right. Yeah.
But on
people will write really insanely harsh stuff without.
Right. They're empowered behind a computer, right? It's really
like
weird.
When you're driving and you're like, that fucking asshole.
Yeah, that comes out of people's mouths on social media. It's just blows my mind, man. Oh, this is a funny one. Best childhood memory.
There are good ones. It wasn't, it was a bad setup, but it wasn't all bad.
That's good. That's good.
Best childhood memory, getting my first guitar.
That's awesome. What was your first guitar?
Well, we had a baritone uke when I was a kid. My father had one just sitting in the house when I was born. So that was really my first experience with it. But I remember going to the Sam Goody in Smith Haven Mall.
I remember Sam Goody. Yeah, they used to sell stuff there. Yeah.
Lake Grove, New York, and buying some kind of probably made by Teisco or Harmony or one of those companies, like a kind of like this guitar, you know, just a shitty ass gold foil kind of guitar.
Sam Goody.
Probably a lot of people have that as their first guitar.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Right.
I most of the people.
You know, when I was a kid, one of my fondest memories is having my band when I was in the 7th, 8th grade with Dina Munch, and we'd play all kinds of songs from all our favorite bands. And her brother Pete Munch was older than us and a really great drummer. We used to watch his band play, and then we try to imitate them. They were like seniors in high school. We were in 7th grade, so we kind of had a mentor in him.
That's really cool.
That was really special. It was like a good time, a good nurturing time. Very grateful for people like that around at that time. You know?
Yeah, you had some good people. You had your guitar teacher too.
Could have been much worse. Could have been much more sheltered if we were in some rural place and that was the family setup.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that could have been isolating. Yeah, yeah. Oh, here's another funny one. Something about yourself people might be surprised to hear or find a little odd.
I tried to think about this one. What's weird about me that people would be surprised about? Man, I don't know. I think I'm a pretty normal guy.
I always say we need to get the wife in here on that one.
I know.
I think the same thing. If you had my wife in here, she'd say, "Oh,
she's not going to chime in, even though she's listening to the whole thing."
Oh, is she? I'm sorry. I've been cursing. I'm so sorry. I try not to curse in front of women.
She doesn't care.
Okay. You curse in your real life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You haven't cursed on here. It's been very impressive.
I haven't cursed. I said asshole, and I said fuck.
Oh, you said fuck? Okay.
Well, just now.
I never. Okay. All right. There you go. Asshole's not really a curse. It's like an adjective, sort of, right?
Depends on what era.
Like, don't. Yeah. Oh, true. Do you have any non-musical superpowers?
The ability to sit on the couch
for long stretches.
I like to walk.
Do you? Cool.
You know, whenever we get to a new city on tour, I'm the first one awake and the first one out walking around. What's
your favorite place you've been?
Oh man, that's a hard question because we've been to some really amazing places. The most surprising place was Strasbourg, France.
Really? What was cool about that?
Like I'm from Europe. France. Strasbourg, France.
Yeah, that was...
because we pulled up to the venue in the bus, and it was like kind of a crappy neighborhood. Like I looked out the bus window, I was like, oh no, shit, we're in a crappy place. It's not going to be fun to walk around in, right? And after the band woke up and we're like trying to figure out what to do, and we didn't have a day off, so we just had like 5 hours to do something. We said, okay, well, let's just get a cab to downtown and see how that is. It sucks over here. So get in a cab and go downtown. It's like the most beautiful city I've ever seen.
Was it?
Just the most ridiculous cathedral. And I love cathedrals. My mom was a church organist. So
oh, yeah, you said that.
I used to accompany her to all the churches while she was playing organ. I'd be her page turner.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool, actually.
She used to go, I used to go, Mom, they're all saying the same thing. Why? They're all, it doesn't matter what church you go to. They all say the same thing. Oh, yeah, that is. Well, that's what am I? I don't know what you are. You have to figure that out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was pretty awesome like that. I guess she was kind of a wannabe hippie.
Yeah, that's cool, though, man. I think it's better that than the other. You know, better to, I don't know. I'm torn on that. I think it's like, I actually think as a parent, you're better off making the mistake of being too strict than too not having rules.
Probably. I would agree with that. I feel like my formless childhood with no rules or with very, very loosely enforced rules was a big mistake on my parents' part.
Yeah, because if you're too strict, your kids only get more responsible, and they may not like you, but they get more responsible. If you're too loose, there's no responsibility. Then they sort of become entitled a little bit, and
right. Well, at least if you're strict with them, you're teaching them what you think.
Right. Right.
Later, if they want and make up themselves.
Absolutely, but they have some code, a frame of reference.
Right.
It's another good question. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was in my early teens, I thought I'd probably be dead by the time I was 30.
Wow. Just because
That
that's,
I was
yeah.
pretty, and I couldn't imagine being 40. That was just out of my realm of thinking.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I just couldn't imagine it.
That's wild.
And after I turned 30, I was like, oh, I survived that. Maybe there's more.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be alive. That's for sure.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. Toughest decision you had to make or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Toughest decisions I had to make ever was, wow. Maybe I should have workshopped that. Sometimes spitballing is good. Sometimes it's not. Toughest decision I had to make. Wow.
Or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Well, I think there was a record that I was on that I helped this singer-songwriter girlfriend of mine in the late 90s put together a demo to get a record deal, and she got the record deal. And then things went terribly wrong, just kind of spiraled out of control. And
in your relationship?
Well, that was the first thing to go.
But oh, is this my therapist?
No.
Oh.
Completely different person. It kind of had a life of its own, and I wish I could have done it differently. I think I failed to be my own champion in that situation, and I didn't see it properly. Like I didn't know what I was doing enough to be able to navigate what was going on, because it was the first time. It was in my early 30s. It was the first time I was ever really dealing with a record label on an artist's trip, right? They kind of just ramshot all over me. Just a series of bad decisions on my part made it go horribly wrong. And I guess if I had it to do again, when she said, I think this should be a band, we should be signed as a band, I should have said yes to that instead of no.
Oh yeah, this is so common. I hear this so often, man.
The record label basically, when I said I don't want to be the band, the record label tried to get me out and pitted us against each other and made it really hard for both of us, really.
That's terrible, man.
And we made the record, and it came out pretty good, but it would have come out a lot better if we had been more in cahoots with each other.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Whether we were together as boyfriend and girlfriend or not.
Right. That's not really. Yeah, it's tough. I hear this all the time of labels just not it. Yeah, they're just not thinking about the things that you need to think about for good creativity, basically.
Yeah. I don't even know if they did it on purpose. This might be just in their nature.
Yeah.
Go about like, oh, he doesn't want to be in the band. Okay, get rid of him. Right. Yes.
Yeah, that's really weird. It's almost like the legal system. You're just another folder for the most part. You know, how do we get this case off as swiftly as possible? It's hard. It doesn't seem like, my understanding from talking to so many people, it doesn't seem like there's any thought process of, you know, this is a guy, he's got family, or, you know, he's got, you know what I'm saying? You're just another folder. And that's how the court system kind of tends to be for the most part. You know, how do we process these files quick and fast and dispose of them and move on to the next thing? And maybe it's because there's so many, but I don't know, man. It seems like if you're in a position where you're dealing with people making music and bearing their fucking souls to you, it would seem like you might want to consider their humanity. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school.
Well, that's, to my credit, nobody in that situation explained anything to me properly or let me know what was actually going on behind the scenes. So it was, when those questions were put to me, it wasn't like, hey, I think we should have a band so that we can be signed as a band. And there was no because explanation.
Yeah.
It's been a 2-hour explanation. Like, there's so many reasons for that. Or,
Yeah.
right? And even coming from her, there could have been a better explanation. But also coming from the label could have called me up and said, hey, we think that you guys should be a band because of this. And, it's easier to tell, or it's whatever,
Yeah, it's weird that they put a bunch of people who have had no experience in this and they don't give you any guidance.
Well, unfortunately, they did have a lot of experience, those people.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. But they still didn't know what they were doing, really, when you get right down to it. Or they did. I have no idea either way.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Could have been that they knew exactly what they were doing. And they were like, oh, the guy just said no? Like, goodbye.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
No, I don't know. I'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter at this point. Hell yeah. Last question, man.
It was really hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional? And how much is just a part of aging?
I think I'm much nicer than I used to be. The last 10 years, though, I've been pretty nice for 10 years. I don't know. I think I'm more relaxed. I've been married to my wife for 8 years, and we're very happy. And
congratulations.
This makes me very relaxed, and we have a good, harmonious home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. It's cool. Hey. It's funny. We had our 25th anniversary last week, and I said, hey, we should tell each other like 3 things that we appreciate about the other person. And that was the first thing my wife said. She goes, you're much nicer. She goes, you're not as angry as you used to be. I really appreciate that about you. And I was like, yes. Because I worked really hard on that, so it was like, I was happy that she said that. Not for that it's, not for my ego, but happy that I actually made some progress.
Yeah. Get that kind of feedback.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, let me tell, first of all, you're a hell of a cool guy, man. I really enjoyed talking with you. You're really open, man. I would definitely look forward to hanging out with you when you come down here and when I come back.
Right on.
Let me tell people where to find you. And I want everybody to check out Teddy Kumpel's music. Check out Loopestra, Loopestra Volume One. It is an amazingly cool record. Great guitar work in there, really well-written songs. Like I said, it's the most unique in a really cool, positive way music I've heard this year. It does a great job combining jazz and funk and everything that's cool and groovy about music and making it all work in a tangible melody, in multiple tangible melodies. If you are in or around the New York City area, or you're going to be in New York, August 9th, Teddy's got a gig at the 55 Club. If you've never been to the 55 Club, it's a very cool place to see a band. It's a small, intimate place. And everybody that's anybody has played there. It's a pretty well-known place in New York City. Check out Teddy's last name is Kumpel, Kumpel. Check out his website. It's Teddy Jam, Teddy Jam, Jam. And you can find, listen to Loopestra Volume One. If you want to buy it on CD Baby and support Teddy that way. If you want to listen to it and stream it on Apple. You could also subscribe to Teddy's YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Teddy Kumpel. And you can also check him out on Instagram. It's Kumpelicious. And he has a Facebook page. He's not as active on there. Also, if you're interested in some lessons from Teddy, he's a hell of a really good player. But if you're an intermediate student and you're interested in taking lessons from Teddy, he's done a lot of teaching over time, and he's got a particular skill set in that. Teddy, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Through social media, or is there a contact tab on Teddy Jams?
TeddyJam.com. There's a contact link.
Great. So if you're interested in learning how to play way beyond powers, way beyond mortal men, as they used to say in the introduction to Superman, Teddy's the guy you want to contact. Go to TeddyJam.com and hit him up and tell him that you heard him on here. And, intermediate students and up, please. And that's about, did I forget anything? Did I miss anything?
No, You covered it, man.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for everything, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. It was really good talking to you. I really enjoyed your story, man. Honestly, it was really cool and really impressive that you're like even halfway normal, to be honest with you, you know, seriously.
After all that, right?
Yeah. After all that, man, that was not easy. And
thank you so much for having me on, Craig. Really,
you're welcome.
All the episodes that I listen to, it's a great thing you're doing.
Thanks, man. That's really kind of you. I appreciate that. I will. Thank you, man. It's kind of you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Subscribe to the podcast. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just fixing my butt. Subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again to Teddy Kumpel for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Please support Teddy's music. TeddyJam.com. TeddyJam.com. Sorry about that. And August 9th at the 55 Club. Check out his new record, or his last record, Loopestra Volume One. It is great stuff. You'll love it. Make sure you get everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out.